You finally get the promotion you've spent years working toward. The new title appears under your name in an email, and it feels like proof that you've made it. You expect more authority and a chance to fix the problems you've spent years noticing. A few weeks later, you open your calendar, it's Tuesday at 9 a.m., and every hour until 6 has already been claimed. Someone needs a decision. Someone else has a problem. Another meeting appeared because a different department decided you needed to be there. That's when the cost of the promotion becomes clear. You gained authority over a team, but lost control over your own time. Your calendar is now where other people's problems go. Is this what success is supposed to feel like? When the honeymoon ends, Alex was an operations specialist at a mid-sized company, and he was good at his job when a report wouldn't reconcile or a process failed for no obvious reason. People called him. He liked the logic of the work. There were checklists, systems, and problems with answers. He could put on his headphones, work uninterrupted for 3 hours, and emerge with a solution. At the end of the day, he knew exactly what he had accomplished. That ability earned him a promotion to operations team lead. The congratulations felt good. His boss shook his hand and said, "We need your mind thinking about the bigger picture now." His former peers patted him on the back. He updated LinkedIn and enjoyed the little bursts of validation. For the first 2 weeks, Alex had plans. He wanted to improve handoffs between departments, build a better tracking system, and mentor the junior specialists. Now he could finally fix the things he had only been able to complain about. He also tried to keep doing his old work. Those tasks made him feel competent and productive, so he added the new leadership duties on top of them. It didn't work. The change came through his calendar. A team member needed 15 minutes for a quick question. A customer escalation took half an hour. Sales promised something operations couldn't deliver, and Alex had to join an emergency meeting to sort it out. About a month into the job, he arrived one Wednesday with a single goal: finish designing the new workflow process. This was the larger, more thoughtful work he had supposedly been promoted to do. He opened the file. Then a message arrived: "The scheduling software is throwing an error. Can you look?" That took 45 minutes. Finance emailed about a discrepancy in a project code and needed his approval. He spent another 20 minutes searching old records. Then someone from another department knocked on his door. "Hey, Alex, got a minute? We're having some friction on the Miller account." That conversation turned into a mediation between two teams and consumed the rest of his morning. At the end of the day, the workflow document was still open and untouched. Alex had spent 9 hours talking to people, but he hadn't completed anything on his own list. He was busy all day and still felt useless. The skills that had made him a strong specialist no longer seemed to count. He couldn't focus for long stretches or work carefully through a problem. Instead, he spent the day taking in confusion, making decisions, and dealing with problems he hadn't created. Eventually, he wondered, am I failing at this? The job changed more than the title. Many new managers have some version of that thought, they just don't say it out loud. The move from individual contributor to manager is jarring because the two jobs have so little in common. Alex wasn't failing. He was measuring himself by the standards of his old role. It took him months to understand what the new role required. Authority doesn't give you control. People often pursue promotions because they expect more control over their work and schedule. Once you're responsible for a team, you may get less of both. Your time becomes available to the people who depend on you. The title also makes you the obvious person to contact when something is unclear or going wrong. Before your promotion, a problem might have floated between departments while everyone wondered who should deal with it. Now they know who to call. You give up some personal autonomy in exchange for influence over a larger group. As an individual contributor, you're driving the car, you choose when to turn, speed up, or slow down. Leadership feels more like air traffic control. You aren't flying the planes, you're watching their paths, looking for possible collisions, and helping people land safely. Your decisions affect more people, but you don't directly control each person's work. Losing control of your calendar may not be a temporary problem. For many managers, it is part of the role. Your work stops looking like output. This is where the identity crisis begins. Until now, your value came from what you produced. You wrote the report, shipped the code, or closed the sale. At the end of the day, you could point to something and say, "I did that." Managers rarely get the same satisfaction. Their job is to create the conditions in which other people can do good work. Success shows up in the team's performance and growth, which can feel frustratingly vague when you're used to finishing concrete tasks. You may find yourself missing simple work. Fixing a spreadsheet offers a clean sense of completion. Coaching someone through a difficult problem does not. The conversation ends, but the work continues. Still, that conversation may be the most useful thing you do all day. Maybe you help a junior teammate rethink a problem that has stalled them for a week. Maybe you handle another department's frustration so your team can keep working. Maybe you reject a new project because the team has no capacity left. You can't put any of those things in a folder marked complete. Their value appears later and usually in somebody else's work. That takes some getting used to. Your personal output matters less. What matters is whether the team can do better work because of your involvement. Problems start collecting in your head. The operational work is only part of the job. The emotional load can be heavier. Managers receive technical problems, but they also receive conflict, anxiety, uncertainty, and bad news. When two employees clash, you carry the conflict. When someone worries about their performance, they bring that worry to you. When a customer is angry, some of that anger lands on you. If a project is delayed or the budget has been cut, you may have to deliver the news. Your brain used to be a tool for sustained focus. Now people drop issues into it throughout the day, and every issue takes attention and emotional energy. That's why a day of meetings can leave you more exhausted than a day of concentrated individual work. You may not have produced anything visible, but you've spent hours making judgments and carrying problems that don't have quick answers. The job can be lonely too. The coworkers you once vented with now come to you when they need to vent. The relationship changes, even if nobody wants it to. You can't complain about the boss in quite the same way when you're the boss. Responsibility creates distance. How to work differently: you can improve your calendar and set better boundaries. But no scheduling trick will turn management back into your old job. You have to change what you count as work. Your job isn't to complete every task yourself. It is to make good work possible without requiring your constant involvement. That means some of the meetings on your calendar are not interruptions. They are where you clarify a goal, settle a disagreement, to decide who owns what, or remove something blocking the team. It also means resisting the urge to fix every mistake personally. Suppose a team member makes an error. The specialist in you wants to correct it and move on. The manager needs to ask why it happened. Were the instructions unclear? Did the training miss something? Does the process make this mistake too easy? Fixing the error might take 20 minutes. Improving the process could stop the same error from happening again. There will always be fires. If you spend the entire day putting them out yourself, though, you never get the chance to reduce how often they start. Change your definition of a productive day. Your brain still wants the satisfaction of finishing something. Management requires a different scorecard. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I help someone improve their judgment? Did I remove something that was blocking the team? Did I make a confusing situation easier to understand? Did I protect the team from work it couldn't reasonably absorb? If the answer to one of those questions is yes, the day wasn't wasted. You may not have written the report, but you made better work possible. When requests keep coming, sort them into 3 buckets: resolve, delegate, and architect. Resolve is for genuine emergencies that need your authority now. A major customer crisis, a system outage, or a conflict that has stopped a project belongs here. Handle these quickly, but be strict about what qualifies. Most requests are not emergencies. Delegate covers work that someone on your team could do, even if you could do it faster. It may take 30 minutes to explain a task you could finish yourself in 10. That extra time teaches someone else how to handle it next time. You're trading speed today for more capacity later. Architect is for recurring problems. If the same report is always wrong, the same handoff keeps failing, or the same person asks the same question every week, the system probably needs attention. Protect time for that work. An hour spent repairing a bad workflow can save the team many hours later. What promotion actually changes? Leadership moves you away from work where progress is easy to see. Much of what you accomplish now will happen through other people. That can feel like failure when you're still using your old definition of productivity. The goal isn't to accept every interruption or let everyone else control your day. It's to decide which problems need your authority, which belong with someone else, and which point to a system that needs fixing. Once you make that adjustment, the job begins to feel different. You stop judging yourself by how many tasks you personally complete. You start noticing whether the team is becoming more capable and whether it can function without you stepping into everything. The transition is difficult and it can be lonely. What's one thing you wish someone had told you before you were promoted? Share it in the comments. People moving into leadership need to hear the parts that never make it into the job description.